Does my smile confuse you? Or remind you you're here?
Once again, welcome to Does My Smile Confuse You? Fortunately, I'm here once again with Jimmy the Greek. And today's show is just like every other show, but this one, I keep saying the first 8 or 9 shows I was gently walking on, ice cubes and sliding all around, but now we're going into much deeper water. Today's show is titled Speak for Yourself. And of course, that is no longer possible because every show is dedicated to us losing the ability to maintain our free speech, which everybody knows. And I mentioned I did an earlier podcast today, and I am suffering from a little aftermath from the flu. So if I cough, puke, die on air, don't worry about it. Just laugh at me. So we're going to talk about this ability to speak for yourself, land of the free, home of the brave, all these things America is. America is still great, no matter how many people want to put it down. We know we're going through rough times, but the reason we're selling, want to say it on every show, that comic sense is, ironically, the closest thing we have to common sense. And I love repeating that. Comic sense. Forget ironically. Comic sense is the closest thing we have to common sense, because we all know if you can't laugh at some of the insanity and the lies and the deception and the BS that we have to deal with every day, you would die under the weight of being a human being in today's world. So we are gonna, Mr. Jimmy, Uncle Jimmy, we're gonna talk about it. And again, my European friend, which he is, a Greece little boy, he has to smoke. So again, he knows how vile and disgusting. So I let him smoke. That's how much I love him.
So it's the inspiration. So talking about comedy, okay, so I'm gonna talk about a comic, a writer, a producer, Larry David. Larry David is one of the most amazing soul producers in the U.S. Seinfeld, then Curb Your Enthusiasm, an amazing sense of humor, and on top of that, he has been able to get away with everything on his shows. He talks about the Jewish community in a funny way,
right?
Which other people might find it disrespectful.
And he is, because he's Jewish.
Because
so
he's Jewish.
He can get away with that a little more.
He talks about the African American community in a funny way.
Yeah.
That one of his episodes with this great African American actor.
Right.
So he uses the sense of humor to get away with stuff.
Right.
So this is that one side. Then on the other side, we have our president, Donald Trump, very educated, wealthy, well-rounded man. But at the same time, stop.
No, go ahead.
But at the same time, he can say whatever he wants. He can get up on television and say, okay, this woman, I never dated. She was ugly, she was this, she was that.
Yeah.
Or this person is this and that. Or send people from Haiti back to their country. He gets away with that.
No.
So we have the Hollywood world, which they can get away with everything because of who they are.
Yeah.
We have the president of the United States that can get away with everything because of who he is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But here's the problem with this country. The people in between, like me and you, the professors, the entrepreneurs, the business people, if we dare to say anything that Larry says on his show or our president says on his speeches or his communications, our careers are going to be over.
Yeah.
And this is what's wrong with this country.
Yeah.
And I would
Well,
let you follow
no,
this.
but I mean, we could go on and on. So we know that power people can do pretty much anything and everything they want anyhow. It's in our face. With the Epstein files and all this crap coming out, you can now see there are two different worlds. The power brokers, the people that are in control, they live in a different world. Okay, they write the laws to protect them. So yes, the other 99%, we're just floundering, wandering around. But yet they keep giving us more and more restrictions, more regulations, more laws, what we can't say and what we can't do. And yeah, it's being implemented, from what I understand watching these podcasts, is in colleges, which used to be designed to open people's minds, where you can go and talk about anything and everything. So some of those same comics, and Dave Chappelle can still, free speech, he can get up there. Chris Rock gets up there and delivers it. Many, I don't watch them, comics can still go around and do their routine. But more and more, I've watched Bill Maher, I've watched certain people. He lost his job with ABC because he misspoke. And therefore, he lucked out and had the greatest career because he moved him to HBO, where he had more latitude. It could say all that stuff. So what a lucky break for him. And on the earlier podcast, I talked about when he does his show, it's formatted in a really well done way, where they have two people from either side of the fence banging heads. And Bill Maher, he mediates and moderates and he's changed his own philosophy in psychology, where he tried to open up more to the Republican side. And now he's very critical of the woke and the Democrats that have gone too far.
Exactly.
So yeah, we live right now in a black and white extreme world. And we're trying to sell humor is to have balance in all of our lives, because I'm an extremist. Okay? I learned extreme lunatic. I should not, I said it earlier on the show, I should have been dead before I was 25. Everything I did, I learned by being the dumbest, most insane on motorcycles, in cars. We had the fastest cars from the 60s and 70s. I should have been dead. And I didn't even do drugs. All my other friends did every drug imaginable. So I survived that decade. I survived the decade after that. And all while doing pretty insane things. So I know about living in extremes. So for my own survival, because I knew very young, and this is important, and tell me if you feel this way. Do you know that you're your own worst enemy?
Absolutely.
Okay. People need to know that. Most people don't believe that.
By the time they figure that out, it's too late.
Well, that's the problem. Therein lies the problem. So why don't we
this way.
teach this in school? You are your own worst enemy.
Okay,
Just
talking about teaching in school, okay, I'll tell you something. Medical school, dental school, the admissions committee and the way they admit the students, the future doctors and dentists and healthcare professionals, is they only look how good they look on paper. Their 4.0s, their 4.2s. I mean, what the hell happened with 4.2 or 4.5 in high school? I thought the limit was 4.0. Was the 4.2 or 5 invented for the blah, blah, blah? I won't say that.
well, I don't know what you mimic, but I want to hear it. But go ahead.
So they admit these doctors and these doctors to be and dentists to be and professionals to be, and they don't even see if they have a sense of humor, if they have any empathy, if they can sit down and have a normal conversation with you. So I've seen these students at the university where I teach, and they fall apart. They have no way to communicate. They don't have a chairside manner. And these are the people that the public is supposed to trust.
Well, I love what you're saying. They should interview face-to-face everybody, especially when you're qualifying a doctor.
Absolutely.
And you should have either one or two or a panel of people that are capable of being very good at judging. Because we know
that are not healthcare professionals.
that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Anyway, so this is this is one of the issues. But coming back to Bill Maher, my favorite episode at HBO was maybe a couple of years ago. He was talking about the Democratic Party and the conservatives, the Republican Party, and he says, listen, when the Republicans want to get more support, they throw money at everybody, tax cuts and this and that.
Right.
But he says, but when the liberals want to get more people, they thought by going and supporting these
Charities,
transsexual groups and this and
yeah.
that, and the young kids
Yeah.
turning their sexes would help them. And then Bill says, listen, I have uncles and I have relatives that there are Democrats, but they're very old school. And when these people that they voted for the Democratic Party turn on the TV and they see this radical change, it just leaves a bad taste in their mouth.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
It leaves a very bad taste in the mouth
Well,
because
of course.
it doesn't matter who we are. We believe in family, we believe in God, whoever our God is. And that's another issue, that's another episode talking about God and religion. Because
Well, there's
in
such
the-
a war between
Because
the
in this
religions.
country, if you even dare to talk about religion, and they don't even teach it in class.
Well, I'll tell you, again, the extreme, and this is what I mean about speak for yourself and free speech. 3 or 4 times in the last few months, somebody sneezed and I said, bless you. Now, I had people say to me, well, why didn't you say, God bless you? And I go, excuse me? How about I'm considerate enough and thoughtful enough and, you know, do I really have to watch everything that comes out of my pie hole? So yes, you're right. In the streets and in schools and jobs, 2 of my friends are professors at Marymount and Stanford. They both lost their jobs. And when I tell you this story, this was part of the impetus to get me going, to say, I got to have a radio show. I got to have a microphone to the world, because somebody out there has got to know that we're talking logic, reason, and sense through comic sense. And that's why I'm not joking. Comic sense. If I couldn't laugh at the shit that I'm mired in every day, and I'm not out in the workforce, so here's what my 2 PhDs, my friends, did. One of them gets on an elevator, 2 different schools, Stanford and Loyola. He gets on the elevator. It's one of his ex-students. He says to her, I had to go be a witness for him because I was on the elevator. He gets on the elevator. All he said to her was, what a lovely, I really like your shirt. She turned that into a sexual harassment lawsuit and got him fired.
Wow.
Okay? That, to me, is a definition of insanity. Word for word, that's what he said. We're not in court. I don't have to prove anymore. I was just there in a state of shock, and there was my jaw literally hit. And that's when I start hearing these little tidbits and seeing that, it gets to me to such a degree that I can't even tell you. That's insane, and that's the place that they're trying to take us, that everything we do or say offends somebody.
That's why flirting is gone.
Flirting?
People don't flirt.
Exactly.
You dare to flirt if you're a single man or a single man. Actually, I love women, but if you're a single young man and you dare to flirt and you say the wrong thing and you're part of an institution, or the person you're flirting is your colleague or your coworker, you're taking a risk.
Well,
in
I
this
told
society.
a
That's
story.
the problem.
I told a story today. This is a true story. You know me. I'll talk all day long to everybody. When I hear something that's in earshot, I'll have fun with it. I'm not afraid to go to the mat. You know, I've had, big guys, all these try and go, and I go, wait a second. I'm in a public place, so I know I'm protected. I just happen to be at Mastro's. And this classless human being, male, says to this gal.
We call them choriates in Greece, which means village idiots. Go ahead.
I love it. He says to her, she walks in and she's wearing Mastros, they get all dressed up, and she's wearing this outfit that shows a rather radical, incredible body. Everybody in the place notices her. So Don Juan, Mr. Charming, goes up to her, and he wants to be the first one, and apparently he had enough liquor in him, and he just goes, "Wow, you have a great ass."
Oh, what a line.
Isn't that charming?
I would say your eyes are
Isn't that
so
nice?
captivating. It's like,
Well,
it's
wait.
like you have a great ass.
Well,
Wow.
here's what I did.
Douchebag.
So not missing a beat, I see her reaction, and he's such a dodo bird that I just go, I jump right in because I was at the stool next to him, and all the bartenders know me, so I was safe. And I said to him, "Oh, it's so funny." And I look at her and I said, "Do you know, I was going to tell you the exact same thing." So I went right into the eye of the storm to mirror how stupid
You saved him.
this. I mean, at least we saved the situation, and she got a little smile on her face, and end of the story. But that's what you can do in every moment to give. Deflect, defer, just deal with humor. Sure, it's none of my business to intervene in the situation, but I'm sitting at the bar. I'm sorry, I'm just not going to take that shit. Plus, as a male, you know this. We're paying a price for all the idiot men that are out there.
Absolutely.
There are so many losers out there that have no rap, they have no game, they are not charming, no joie de vivre, all the stuff we talk about. And it affects me because I've had girls, the way I look, tall and all that stuff, they go, "Oh, they told me." And they go, "I just thought you were another asshole." And I go, "Well, I am." No.
No, but I understand what you're saying. That's why you see so many beautiful, no, forget about the beautiful inside, outside, educated women that they're single because they don't want to put up with us.
Exactly.
They're not interested.
And then we talked about, you know what the fear is? The fear of rejection. We talked about that today. So these men are young, well, they're men.
Comparing to me and you, there.
By the way, well, no, but everybody lets everybody off the hook. They go, he's 25, he's 30.
He still has to grow up.
No, that's right. He's not growing up. Look, if I didn't have a clue by the time I was 21, and my father smacked me across, I mean, some of the stuff. Remember what we talked about? You couldn't curse at my dinner table.
No.
And I had people like Marcus Allen. I had the biggest, baddest, strongest athletes, but they were so respectful. They sat there, and of course, everybody's drinking, having a good time. And, a foul word would come out of their mouth. And my dad, he had that look. The old Italian?
Yeah.
He had fingers 3 times fatter than mine. He could crush their hand. He was a barber, so he had the grips from using the scissors. And these are all the world's strongest athletes. And I'll digress for a moment. They all, when they shook his hand, they go, "Mr. Ruocco, do you mind if I shake your hand again?"
One more time.
They couldn't believe his strength. So he'd sit at the table, and somebody would say a foul word in front of my mom or a family dinner, and he'd just point. And he said, "Marcus," or whoever it was, he goes, "No cursing in this house."
This is
And
going to
you
be
know
the
what?
last time you
To
do
their
that.
credit, they go, "Yes, Mr. Ruocco." So we have to get back that respect, especially when you're in somebody's home. It's amazing to me how many beautiful, because they're beautiful things. Respect, charm, manners, playfulness, flirting.
Yes.
These are all healthy things. We've made them unhealthy.
But I have to tell you, even in my healthcare office, there's kids that they come in. I'm not breaking any HIPAA rules. Generally, they have no sense of humor.
I understand.
Myself and the staff, they try to be, a little humorous, just lighten up the air so they're not scared. And it's like these children, I don't know how they're raised. They're terrified,
That's the problem.
and they're concerned. I don't know. It's just the
Well,
society is changing.
I'm going to tell you how this is a single way, and it's not. I'm going to, over a period of time, do something which I also mentioned on today's show, and I've mentioned it before, develop people's sense of humor actually on the air with these shows, because we're going to talk about things. So I'm going to tell you how the human shutdown starts and how humor is just crushed. Children are what? We talked about the geography of you, a great title for one of our shows, the geography of you. So think of children anywhere and everywhere. What are all children? Truth tellers, right?
They are.
They emote and they feel, and then all parents just crush the child's spirit. So we're also all spiritual beings from the get-go. The child's spirit.
They're pure to begin with.
Exactly. We're
Like when you get really, really old, you become pure again because you become senile.
you
not in a
become
bad
baby
way.
again
Yes.
if you surrender. Well, hopefully, and not callous, jaded, hardened by most adults. So yes, we talked about there are two kinds of people: childlike and childish. So we're trying to make our audience get the idea you want to be childlike.
Can I interrupt you for a minute? You know, the best part I liked in my career, the little kids will come in my office, the parents will sit across, and the kids will say, oh, mommy did this, daddy did this, mommy did this,
Tell
daddy
you
did
the
this.
story.
They're so honest.
That's
and
so
the
great.
parents will be so embarrassed, and I would look at them and I would
That's so
say,
great.
This
Yeah.
this is so beautiful.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I know exactly. And when the kids misbehave, and I had in the past, not like kids that would use bathroom words, I would look at them and I would say, this is my house. You can talk like that in your house in front of your parents. But in my house, you can't talk like that.
Yeah. And do you realize if you did that today as a doctor, the parents would be all over your ass?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
there again is another loss of freedom of speech, and
yeah.
you just doing something that's actually,
You just ignore it. You just walk
normal.
away. Yeah.
yeah, so these stories are endless.
They're endless. They're endless, and they say children learn by osmosis from their parents, their mothers, their fathers, their grandmothers, but also they learn by osmosis from the environment, going to the healthcare professional, going to the store. So it's not only the family that used to teach kids proper manners and education; it's the environment. Now, their environment has gone to hell for many, many years. They took religion out of school. They taught kids not to respect the teachers. If the teachers were firm, now the parents can complain to the school board. They can get a teacher fired. They can do these. Now it's coming to the opposite thing where the teachers teach everything in the world that the kids, little kids, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds are not supposed to know.
Well, and here's the
So
overkill.
everything is upside down.
Here's the overkill. The carpets are piled so high in my old family home where I grew up because my mom would say this, don't say this to your brother. Don't say this to your aunt. My dad would say, don't say this to your sister. Don't say that. So everybody's in your ear, what not to say to all these individual cousins and family
Forget
and people
about
that
it.
are coming. You're told so much what not to say. The human shutdown starts by the time you're
absolutely.
4.
Yep.
And so it's insane. There's an old quote. By the time most children are 8 or 9, they've heard 11,247 no's and only 2 yeses.
Yeah.
So it's insane. You have to have the freedom to speak, to emote. We can eliminate psychiatric help.
But why is the opposite happening? You just said children have heard so many no's and very few yeses. And myself being guilty, why do I have a hard time throughout my life, and I'm in my 60s, I'm having such a hard time saying no to people?
You
Explain that.
personally saying no?
I do. No, I have a hard time saying no to people, and our society has a hard time saying no to people. So why? I mean, this is an oxymoron.
Well, in a
And
way,
you're not a psychologist. I'm not a psychologist.
well, in
but
a way, it's the same. We don't want to hurt the people.
Exactly.
You and I are like that. Believe me, I'm as guilty of that as anybody. First person that calls me, you know how I make plans every day, all of my life. First person that calls me, oh yeah, what are we doing? Yeah, And I'll say, yeah, then everybody that follows that, I said, well, no. So,
Or
but
you say, come and join us.
yeah, well, I did that too, but something else people didn't like because they want one-on-one. And I understand that. You want one-on-one. You don't want a bunch of people. You organize because, especially in today's, you don't have time. Like, I invite you, see how we are. We got 6, 8 people, and I haven't seen you in a month or two. You know, selfishly, we want to talk amongst ourselves and catch up. So if I invite some other people, you know, I'm kind of, but I'm doing it actually because, wow, I want these great people to meet these great people.
And the people that feel uncomfortable, it's on them because there's nothing to me.
Well,
the way
that's
I was
also
raised,
true.
There's nothing better to be on a table with 10 different people, 10 different personalities, and just being able to blend, say whatever you want to say, you know, and it is what it is.
I respect the friends that I have. My friend Russell, who I lost a couple of years ago, he only wanted one-on-one with me. And I had to respect and understand
Absolutely.
that. So I never subjected him to other people. So they can eventually tell you. But the key, parents out there, please, I love how parents hold their infant. And what a classic. Here's comedy and humor, how it works. They're holding the baby, whether it's the mother or the father, and the person, you know, they're showing their little baby to their cherished possession. And the man or the woman looking at the child, oh, he looks so much like you. Now, if he says, oh, he looks so much like the husband, and it's the mother holding it, she's a little pissed off because
And now talking about humor, one of my favorite episodes of talking about people getting away with it, right? Seinfeld. So Seinfeld, so Jerry and George and Kramer, they go to this couple's house where they just had a baby. And Kramer and Jerry and Helen take a look at the crib, and Kramer goes, and it's like they've
It's one
never
of his
seen an ugliest
freakouts, yeah,
baby,
one of his
right?
freakouts, yeah.
Have never seen a baby.
Yeah.
I mean, and most babies are so pretty now
Yeah.
as they grow as adults, but they were able to get away with that shit. Okay,
Yeah.
we can't do that anymore. We just can't.
We, you know, whether it's Mad Magazine, anytime they talked about in Mad Magazine, in Russia, I remember when they had, you know this, underground papers to get people to laugh because they had to be underground, so they had to be very stealth with their humor because the restrictions were so tremendous. So we need less and less you can still raise a child with manners and respect and allow them to emote and be and say the truth. If they say something they're not going to do it. And most adults understand when a 5, 8-year-old says something. Another thing, my mom and dad, all these lies that were piled up under a carpet. I couldn't say this to my aunt. My God, it's like I went crazy. I couldn't wait at 17 to move out of my house, to have the freedom to speak. That's why peers, our friends, are so important. To have friends that you can get out all your shit that you can't say in your family. It's just not healthy. And everybody knows what we're saying. This is just logic, reason, and again, that's why I come back to common sense is more important than common sense because we have lost our common sense. And we never really had a good, strong foundation of that anyhow. About 25 years ago, some attorney wrote The Death of Common Sense. That was the title of the book. When I read that book and I saw the laws, restrictions, regulations, now you know what we're going to have in California after these fires with our rebuilding. We're going to have to spend $300,000-$400,000 or more just to placate and feed their goddamn restrictions, and they'll form, 10 more committees, more bureaucracy.
Oh, so they can. Oh, I'm gonna be politically incorrect. They're gonna hire all these losers that can't get a job otherwise and put them through the system so we can pay and increase our gas prices. Like today, like for 87, I have a rental car, like $6 a gallon. But I have to say, common sense It's a world that a lot of people don't like anymore. We're getting to that.
They don't like
But
anymore.
They don't like. But I would equate common sense with purity, the way you were born.
Yeah.
That's what I would say that common sense is.
Well, doesn't that correlate to
And
truth?
because you said about children, they say the truth. The elderly, they say the truth.
Yeah.
And
You know what Mark Twain said?
tell me,
If you always tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything.
that's what you said. Your mother told you so many things. That's why you shut down. It's like, I'm not going to
It's-
remember this uncle comes,
it's a
this
shutdown.
this aunt, this, the
I-
cousin, this and
so
that. What am I going to say?
I
Your
had
brain
to
was
set
going haywire.
myself free. Every child, everybody hearing our voice has to set themselves free. I guarantee you, in every family is dysfunctional. You may have the greatest family in the
course.
entire world. And by the way, you gotta use your sense of humor or logic, reason, whatever it is, to separate. If your mom and dad, which every mom and dad, they have to have some good qualities, okay? If you survive to 20, 30, whatever, they did something right.
Absolutely.
Maybe not a lot, but enough.
Not by your choice, but they did something right.
Whatever it is. Now you're out. You're on your own. And now you're a big boy and girl. You can separate yourself and start telling the truth and find a diplomatic, fun way, playful way to do it. And that's what we're selling. And everybody wants to do that. Because if you bring back, I guarantee you, men, look at James Bond. James Bond. He was so cool, and he was always so charming with women. So I don't care if you watch a James
fictional
Bond
character.
movie,
He's a fictional
and just
character.
be smooth. Use fictional to carry over in life. At least it's better than you got a great ass.
Yes.
I mean, you take a fictional character and develop it, even if you want to. One of the old.
You can do everything with a sense of humor. You're
It's
absolutely right.
endless. It's endless what you can
Absolutely
do to be playful and charming, but it's got to be done individually. That's why I'm doing this. Wasting all my breath on a bunch of morons.
So what? Because we're getting. I mean, this show is getting to what I would like to do, and you would like to do, is by having this podcast is tell people it's okay to have a sense of humor. Tell people it's okay to start voicing their own opinion,
Yeah.
expressing their own feelings. And the way to get away with these guys, unless you're President Trump, you can pretend you're a comedian, start with a sense of humor, throw a couple of your own opinions in a humoristic, funny way, and then sense your opponent, sense the person that sits across from you. Because that's what I've done in my career. When patients come in, mothers come in, fathers come in, I always see, because that's important. In order not to get in trouble, you need to know who is sitting across from you.
100%.
You need to develop that sense. It's an extra sense. Nobody has it.
Yeah.
But you need to know. And
That-
tell me what you think about that.
Well, no, but that's qualifying, a person. This is a funny little story, and it's humorous in the fact that it worked. I was a 13-year-old kid, and Rain and I talked about this story today. I was telling an Uber driver the story. He was talking about selling and being a salesman, and I said, well, the first job I had selling, I was 12, 13, I worked in my uncle's motorcycle shop. And the first person was a big celebrity, a movie star. And my uncle says to me, he said, okay, Daryl, get your feet wet. Go out and wait on, that's so-and-so, and that'll be good because you're a kid and all this stuff. I said, okay. So I go out, greet him, I talk to him. I didn't know much about motorcycles, so I was honest. I said, well, I don't know much about my bikes from my first job. And, he said, how old are you, kid? And I said, 12 or whatever. And he said, well, I'm pretty interested in this Triumph. And is it a
Triumph, my
good
God,
bike? I
that's
said,
back in
oh,
time.
yeah. I said, yeah, as soon as I'm of age, this is my bike and blah, blah, blah. And he started to get more excited. I said, well, listen. And I meant it. I was sincere. I said, well, if you buy this bike, it'll be my first sale. and he just stopped and he goes, really? He bought the bike because he told my uncle.
was
he
an
said,
amazing-
I wanted to
amazing-
make the kid.
Talking about an amazing human being.
So now my uncle, what does he do? Because I wasn't good at lying. He said, every time somebody comes on the lot, you go out and tell them this would be my first.
It's like you being a kid in front of your house and selling lemonade. Everybody's gonna stop and buy, give you $1 or $2 for a horrible lemonade your mother made. This is what you did.
Right. It is. So whether you're selling lemonade, a thing, or it's just, these little simple stories. People are yearning, they're longing, these words you don't hear anymore, to get back to storytelling, the art of conversation. I pray, I hope that the wagon is starting to turn around. Because if it doesn't, adios, goodbye. A&I take over because humans have had their shot.
Let's not let fear kill the humor. That's it.
Fear is the absence of humor.
Yes.
So remember, every great comic, they know when they get on stage, I don't care. I can't care. I have to speak unedited. Those are the best comics. You watch some of the old, you watch Dave Chappelle, you watch Chris Rock, Pace, and he lights up his people. He doesn't pull any punches. He looks out at the women and he goes, you women with your hair, you spend all that stuff, you got that gel in there, you got
I've been on
your
a
big
show like
boobs,
that,
their
yeah.
push-up bras. He lights into
Rips them up,
And
rips them
who's
in
laughing the hardest? The
They are.
women.
Yeah.
So it's there. It's there. We have a chance to free ourselves. And that's what they want. They want to free us. They say they're doing it for laughs. Deeper, they care. George Carlin said, I don't give a shit about people thinking, oh, go to hell. He said, the world, he said, everything. He was very critical, especially at the end. He said, but individually, I like people. But when they're in a mob and a gang, and a group like Republican, Democrat, they become assholes.
Of course it becomes.
Yeah, because they can hide, like a corporation.
It's the herd.
No accountability, no responsibility. They can hide.
They hide under somebody
can hide.
else's.
And then look at you can't
Umbrella.
speak the truth in any business. You have to sign a waiver. You have to sign your life away. Remember the cigarettes? The Russell Crowe movie? He came forward. He lost his family. He lost his life. He lost his job. He lost everything because he had signed a disclaimer. But he said, no, there's chemicals. Cigarettes are the most addicting thing in the whole world. Boom. And that's what happens when you speak the truth. So I just want you to know we're all going to get killed, but it's been nice knowing you. Anyhow, Rain, this is your chance to say our goodbye. You want Dimitri to do it? He doesn't know. Do you know how we always sign off?
No, but I will
Keep the change.
keep the change.
Oh, there you go.
Keep the drachmas.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you.
I don't laugh because life is easy. I laugh because I see the mind can sell you stories, then charge you rent to be free. They call it normal to panic, to worship the loudest fear. But a thought becomes a prison the moment you hold it near. So I ask one honest question, not to win, just to wake. Is this truth I'm believing, or just memory and ache? I use humor like a flashlight in a room full of certain lies. Comic sense isn't comedy, it's sight with a smile in its eyes. Critical thinking is mercy, consciousness is breath and release. If you can laugh at the story, you can finally step into peace. Sometimes I'm quiet and listening To a child asking is love safe, I don't fix him with answers. I stay and give him space. So laugh, not to escape, but to see what's always been true. Nothing real is against you, and life is quietly loving you. Does my smile confuse you or remind you you're here? Does my smile confuse you or